It's a pleasure to be with you today to bring you a brief update on America from beautiful Telluride, Colorado, which you see just over my right shoulder and behind me. What a beautiful place this is. Today I'm privileged to have a dear friend that is going to be a part of this brief interview and discussion about Telluride. And so I want to introduce Pastor Ketrich Steger to you today. And Ketrich, come on in. Thanks for being here. This is Ketrich's hometown, he and his family's hometown, and they've been here. So we asked him if he would take a few minutes and tell us some of his story. I think it'll be an inspiring, encouraging report. So Ketrich, again, thanks for being here with us. And first of all, how long have you and your family been a resident of Telluride?
Well, I tell you, Hope, we've been privileged to be here in Telluride for about 5 years now, a little over 5 years. My family and I have moved in from Texas, and Telluride has been a really wonderful place for us to just to call home.
Wonderful.
And we've seen some pretty neat things here. It's been a great adventure, actually. You know, I mean, living in a town like this, you find a lot of adventure going on.
Coming in from Texas to a new town, new culture, new climate, Ketrich, tell us a bit about how you and your family have gotten involved, because when I walk the streets with you, what I see is you are part of this town. This is your town. When I see people respond to your so tell us a little bit about what things you've done. How have you guys gotten involved in the community?
Well, Hope, one of the things that we've seen here, I guess you would say, just basically Telluride itself. The history of it tells you that it is filled with a lot of valuable minerals and things that time past people actually would dig in the ground for it. And that's what I'm finding here in Telluride, that there are a lot of valuable people and there's lives here. So we've just made it a point to become part of the lives of families here in town, and really pursuing instilling fatherhood and just loving people. And you know, and that may vary from getting involved in programs that's helping people to have a place to stay overnight when they're stranded here in a cold place like Telluride, or maybe they're stranded here and need a place to go or need fuel to get from point A to point B. And the Lord has really opened up some doors for us to partner with some other groups to see that happening. And then on the same hand, getting involved with the city governments and things like that, getting to know those who's really running the show around here, you know.
Yeah. I know that we were talking a bit earlier, and just trying to paint a picture here for a moment about your involvement. And one of the things you mentioned earlier was about ministering to people at the jail setting. So what I'm hearing is from the government to even those that would be imprisoned, ministering to those and touching people on the street. Is that right, Ketrich?
Right. Yeah, we do a weekly jail ministry here in Telluride, and Telluride is a small place, so if you're going to go and see someone at the jail, there's a good chance it may be someone that you've either passed by or interacted with on the street. And from that, there's been relationships built. We've been able to go in and really deal with some hard issues, people struggling with rejection, and before you know it, they are released from the jails and they come into the church and say, okay, how can I serve on a real tangible level? And so we've been seeing just things like that, where people's hearts have been turned from, okay, doing that which has landed them in jail. Right. Well, how can I do something a little different now?
Yeah. Excellent. We like to talk about how do you turn America, and we say you turn it one community at a time. And what you're stressing now is how do you turn a city? You turn a city one heart at a time, one life at a time. And that's what I think you're sharing with us. Give us an example of, since you guys have been here, been serving, been involved in the community, give us an example of something that you have seen where God has blessed the communities, you know, something where something is turning. So tell us a good story, encouraging, inspiring story about what you've been able to witness the Lord doing here in Telluride.
Sure. Well, one of the things that we do, some of you may have heard of the talk show that we do here is called the What If Show. And with the What If Show, what we do is we get to know people, and we're finding out there are people who have some really good success stories and overcoming some things, or maybe they've walked through some hard issues, be it jail, drug addiction, and things of that nature. So we've got involved with some of these lives and watched people actually be delivered from some of those issues, but at the same time they would come on the talk show with us and tell their story.
Awesome.
And by them telling their story, I've watched people on the streets come up to me and say, that story I just saw really gave me hope. And that's one of the things that we really felt compelled to do, is start instilling hope once again back into the streets of Telluride. And so that has been a real encouraging thing to me, to see someone who have walked that life where there was death and destruction. Lives are turned around, and then we've been able to have a relationship with them and bring them before their community and say, here's a success story of what it looks like to walk away from those things. And we've seen people, they walk up to us on the street, or they'll send us a message and say, thank you for putting that message out. Now I have an opportunity to walk a life of hope.
Well, that is awesome, and I appreciate you so much bringing in that point about hope, because as you know, we feel like what God said to us is to be a voice, speaking the good message of hope back into, whether it's Main Street or whether it's Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., to instill that back in. Ketrich, tell us just a moment about another thing that you're involved in, along with other leaders here in the Colorado area, called the Colorado Coalition for Regional Transformation. Tell us a little bit about that and what that looks like.
Well, Hope, I tell you, that is one of the most beautiful things that I've seen operating, especially within the church world, is the Colorado Coalition for Regional Transformation. Regional Transformation is a group of leaders, pastors, churches. We come together. It started out just coming together, encouraging one another. But we also found out within that group of encouragement, there's different gifts, there's different talents, and we bring all those gifts to the table and say, how can we develop a church on the Western Slope? And so we range from, whether it's from Grand Junction to Dolores or Durango, meeting with different leaders, bringing their gifts to the table. And so by doing that, we have a team that go out and they do inner heart healing ministry in different parts of the region. A leader may not have that gift in their body in, let's just say, Durango, but within the coalition, we're saying, hey, here's a gift, use it. The Lord has opened big doors for us among the Native American community, the First Nation people, and as well been able to go in and share some of these gifts there within their community. And so the CCRT is what we call it, Colorado Coalition for Regional Transformation. The Lord has really brought different gifts together to respect one another's gifts, to honor one another's gifts, and bring them together in one place and to send it out throughout the region so the region can benefit from the gifts that the Lord has brought to us here. And so it's been fantastic to see it happen.
That is so encouraging and such an example and a model for other communities. So if we're going to turn a nation, we've got to be involved in our community. And if we are involved in a community, we can't do it by ourselves, is what I hear you saying. We need to be partnered with those that the Lord would connect us with. The last thing, Ketrich, I want to just touch on briefly is about the history of this beautiful place. As we reviewed it and researched a bit, in the late 1890s, it was booming, it was thriving, and some numbers as much as almost 6,000 people were residents of Telluride with the mining boom, etc. And then late 1890s, early 1900s, it began to turn. And one report I read, it said it was really it became a ghost town. And then the story began to turn. I believe it was the 70s. You began to see, and it would even trace it back to one entrepreneur, one individual who saw something and then partnered with other people in the local community here. And what the story goes on to, it talks about white gold, which is what you're seeing here is the snow. And so they begin to develop there, build a ski lift, etc. And so now the population is approximately 2,000, and Ketrich was telling us that on some weekends there are as many as 12,000 people here in Telluride that come in because of what this has to offer. For me, what I see in this, in the story of Telluride, is if we can use this as a model of individuals who would care about their community and see something, we will call it entrepreneurial spirit, and say, by the grace of God, we can invest in our community and we can see it going from being maybe an economic ghost town to a thriving community. And so we want to close with that thought. But thank you so much for being with us today. May God bless you, and thanks again for what you're doing for your community and for this great nation we call home.